The world champ is here. Here's his bio.
You know, in the world of pro wrestling, Edge has pretty much done it all. 11-time world champ, 31 titles in all with the WWE, one of the biggest stars going today.
He is the biggest star on the horizon.
So how did he get here? Well, his real name is Adam Copeland, raised by his moms in a small apartment in Orangeville, Ontario, where, as he puts it, you worked in a local factory, or if you got lucky, you got a job in Toronto. But Adam had other ideas. He wanted to be just like this guy.
Hulkamania is the largest arms in the world.
Adam got hooked on wrestling at a young age, and in high school got tickets to WrestleMania 6 in Toronto. After that show, he vowed that one day he would headline a WrestleMania. Next, he won an essay contest in the Toronto Star. The prize, free wrestling training at a gym in Toronto. Along the way, he went to Humber College, got a diploma in radio broadcasting, same program, same school that I went to. Then hit the road to be a wrestler, and by road, I mean small town Canada in the winter, driving across frozen lakes with hardly any money, eating nothing but canned tuna for days. But in the late 90s, everything changed. See, Bret the Hitman Hart put in a good word for Adam, and in June of 1998, Edge made his WWE debut.
He's a hard man to get close to, I can assure you that. Look at this.
To get to the top, he paid a hell of a price. Torn ACL, torn Achilles tendon, a broken neck, a fractured skull, who knows how many stitches in long-term drama. But for Edge, it's all part of the job. And for Adam, well, it's all part of living the dream.
Please welcome Edge. Welcome, man.
Thank you.
How's things?
Good. Good.
How do you feel?
Busy, but good.
Is WrestleMania season like Christmas shopping season? Do things change around you when it's coming?
It does.
Yeah?
It does. You get a little bit more amped up. Things get a little bit more hectic.
So we're at what, 27 now, WrestleMania 27?
27.
And your first one was WrestleMania 14?
The first one they brought me to was 14, and I was talent then, but I wasn't on the show. I was just kind of brought there to soak it in and see it. And it was Stone Cold Steve Austin won the title that night against Shawn Michaels, and I was just like, I stood in the crowd so that I could really get a feel for what it was all about, and I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, these guys are good. So
when you got into the ring for the first time at an event like that, was it what you thought it would be?
More.
Yeah.
It was surreal. The first one that I actually, performed at was WrestleMania 16, and Christian and I had this, triple ladder match, and it was just, it was this huge car wreck. It was like a tornado through a trailer park. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And at the end of it, that was our dream, to win the tag team championship. So I'm sitting there with my childhood friend on top of a table, propped up by two ladders, in front of 18,000 people in Anaheim, going, oh my God, we did it. And it was like Dreamweaver was playing, and I was like, oh, it was Wayne's World, and
But imagine after that rush would have faded, your body must have just been aching, because the amount of work that has to go into that.
My body's aching right now. It never stops now.
I've heard people talk about, I've seen, pro athletes talking about how they've watched the athletes that have come before them as they've retired. Larry Bird, whose back is in a constant state of pain, and you often wonder, was it all worth it? Do you worry about what the next 2 or 3 decades of your life are going to feel like?
It's crossed my mind, without a doubt. Thankfully, because of the guys that have paved the way before, just like every other sport or any type of industry like this, they paved the way for us to be able to make more.
Yeah.
And also you learn by mistakes that you see. I got a plate in my neck. I've torn my Achilles. I've had some pretty significant injuries.
How many concussions have you had?
I don't know. But I do know that when you taste copper, you just got a concussion.
Yeah.
And that's weird to say, but that's when I know, there's one.
That's how I knew I had one after a motorcycle accident, was the taste in my mouth.
Like somebody threw a roll of pennies in your mouth.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of terrifying that you know it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the fact that I'm familiar with it, I don't like that idea. It's I guess, nature of the beast, but thankfully now we've gotten pulled back the reins quite a bit and tightened the reins.
Has that happened?
Yeah. We had to. I mean, there was 9 of us that had spinal fusion surgery within a year. Yeah. And
the Benoit stuff really shone a light on some of the head injuries.
And if anything good can come out of something like that, and that's not the right way to put it.
But I know what you mean. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Yeah. It's the fact that now we have a really, really stringent wellness policy. We keep track of that. We have impact testing. We get tested constantly. We're we're tested to make sure that everything is functioning and we're okay.
You know, and I'm glad you're here because of the conversation about concussions that's so big, and especially with hockey and other sports. Take me through the mind of an athlete when, an athlete knows, when you've got injuries and you know that you got to get out there and fight and that whole just make the gig, baby. Mm-hmm. Take me through the thought process of when you're like, I taste copper, I'm in trouble, but I'm going back out there.
Yeah, while you're out there and it's just happened, you just go, okay, let's get through to the end and then I'll figure it out after the fact, which might not be the right mentality. But now, thankfully, if that does happen, we're not going to be allowed to go out there. And like I said, we've been able to kind of pull back the reins and control more of what we've done. You're not going to see somebody get blasted in the head with a chair anymore, thank goodness.
Yeah, that's been out for a while, right?
Yeah.
Well, people talk about this, they talk about with Benoit and with him, they think that changing personality, changing moods and that, and depression and all that, a lot of it is tied to concussions.
And I think there's some relevance to that, definitely. I mean, you look at the NFL and you look at how many former players now are starting to end up not here or whatever it is, and you just go, oh man, it has to have something to do, with it.
It's a former wrestler who's really working, leading the charge in terms of studying concussions.
Yeah, Chris Nowinski, and intelligent guy, nice guy, and I think just because he played football, got some there, wrestled, got some there. And then, I think sat down and went, okay, something has to be done here. Mm-hmm.
Do you ever look at your brain in the future and go, I'd like them to study my brain too?
I possibly, but I feel pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I cannot complain. I've been able to buy a house for my mom. I got a place in the mountains. I'm exactly where I always wanted to be. You never know if you're going to get there, but I'd like to think I feel pretty well adjusted, and I have my 4 dogs, and I go hiking in the mountains. Nice. That's kind of it.
How does the UFC change your business and change for you?
Whether anyone wants to admit it or not, it totally has. If you look at the male demographic at, let's say, 18 to 34, or whatever the breakdown is, they're going to watch the guys that are trying to take each other's heads off. So it forces you to go, okay, well, that college demographic that used to watch us when we were really over the top is probably going to go there, to me. So why not go toward the younger audience where you can gear it and make it more family friendly and take less risks for us physically and make it more almost like a comic book again, which is what I fell in love with initially.
You also get the sense that a lot of the younger athletes would get into mixed martial arts. And so you see them streaming now. Even I think Mick Foley and other wrestlers have said if they were at the time, they would go there.
Yeah, for me, I've never contemplated. It's like, no, this is what I wanted to do, man. You get to be an amalgamation
of fun.
It is. I don't know personally that end of it, but I can't see being miserable and cutting water and whatever it is. It's like, man, I want to go have a burger tonight, and I'm gonna slap some mayonnaise on it and feel okay with it, even though I got to wear tights tomorrow.
That's right. Oh, God. Have you ever... Hey, rock stars look back at their haircuts over the years. Do you ever look back at the tights you wore?
I look back at the haircuts I had, man, or the one I'm sporting now is not that great either. But, there's a clip of me from WrestleMania 6 at the Dome, and fully mulleted and in a Hulk Rules tank top, having no right wearing a tank top whatsoever. I'm like 13 and I'm like 150 pounds at 6'2". It was just like, oh God, what was that? Oh, and it was like all feathered. It was an atrocity. It was. I was Janie Lane from Warrant.
God,
is what I
that's
was.
So good.
Yeah.
All right, stick around. When we come back, I want to talk about growing up in Orangeville, Ontario, and we talked about hair. What was Edge's worst wrestling persona? Anthropology when we come back. Back here with Edge. Talk to me. You watched that, so you got burned once, didn't you?
Yeah. Due to my own sheer chip on my shoulder and stupidity, I thought I should be in the main event of WrestleMania that year. Yeah. So I decided I would dive face first into a flaming table while I still had thumbtacks lodged in my back. I mean, just ridiculous.
Dumb.
No
one around you just said, listen, dude, probably not the best move?
Yeah, but they knew I wouldn't listen.
Really?
Yeah, I was a very, very stubborn person at that point.
Where'd you learn that from?
I always say it's got to come from my mom. As I have the conversations as she gets older and gets more and more stubborn, I'm like, Ma, are you kidding me? And she doesn't see it at all, so she'll be watching this going, I can't believe he said that.
Right. Oh, boy. Well, you were raised by a single mother, and
yes.
that's, I think, one of the great accomplishments. The mother's obviously dynamite, and many people have this idea from the outside what it must be like to be there, but having grown up in it, tell me about your mom.
Wouldn't be here without her. Well, I mean, for more than one reason.
Yeah.
But
because you didn't know your dad at all, right?
Nope. Never met him. Never seen a picture. Nothing.
He hasn't come out to reach out to you.
He might have tried, but he's never gotten to me. And at this point, the way I look at it is, I did okay. Yeah. And my mom did. Without her support, without her infrastructure of support, there's just no way. When I was 8 years old saying, I want to try this wrestling thing, I think, and then when I'm 14, and then when I'm 17 and going to Parkdale and doing it now, training in a boxing ring, and just, and she'd show up in Hillsburg, Ontario, with 50 people there, and she'd be right there for me. And then when I'm, wrestling at WrestleMania in front of 70,000, she's right there for me. And without her saying, no, you can do this, there was never that, this might be a pipe dream, huh? What do you think? I mean, 1% of the people that try to do this make it. And never once did she ever doubt me. She was always fully supportive.
You've been in a ring and seen her like in a big event. Do you get emotional?
Yeah.
When we get older, we start to well up when we think about our moms, right?
Yeah, well, I've always said winning the world championship in our industry, it's like kind of being acknowledged with the Oscar or just being given, okay, you can help lead this cart. And anytime that's happened, I've always tried to make sure she's there. And it's been tougher now because I didn't expect to get it 11 times. I figured once. But she's been there for about 7 of them. Yeah. And each time I look, and there she is, and she's just, she's welling up. Yeah. It's... she'll be there this year for WrestleMania. I make sure to get her there. Or if we do Toronto, she's right there. You'll see her on the front row.
That's amazing. The finishing move was the spear. Ever use an actual spear?
No, I've never been asked that.
You just had to know. What's the worst persona you had as a wrestler?
I've had a few that I. Personally, the coolest / worst name I've had, Sexton Hardcastle.
That's a terrible name, but awesome too.
Yes.
You look back and go, well, that was that.
Yeah, I look back and go, man, I'd like to bring him back.
You probably can.
I might be able to. No. He did a massive, huge Caucasian running man.
That's fantastic, and awful as well.
The whitest version of the Running Man you'll ever see.
Nice. Check it out. WrestleMania 27 this Sunday, 7 p.m. Pay-per-view. It's Edge, everybody. Stroumboulopoulos.com is the website. We'll see you next time.